Good morning and welcome to the Acadian Garden and Apothecary. Today we will be going on a hike through the woodlands of Maine in search of one of my favorite herbs, wild raspberry. If you, like me, grew up near woodland areas, no doubt you've probably encountered the brambles of red raspberry and black raspberry and seen their delicate white flowers and juicy berries that are about the size of your thumbnail. Perhaps you've even enjoyed a sweet tart or raspberry jam on toast, or even bit into the gooey center of a raspberry-filled cookie. I have many childhood memories of foraging out in the local raspberry patch, eating raspberries and playing pretend and coming home with red-stained fingertips and little seeds stuck in my molars. Raspberries are well known for their fruit, but did you know that raspberry leaves are just as wonderful? In fact, raspberry leaves are among the top herbs for women due to their beneficial effects on the uterus and their nutritive qualities that contribute to bone health. I could go on all day about the many benefits of raspberry leaf tea, as well as other products such as vinegar and tincture remedies that can be made from the leaves. But more on that later. Let's get out into the woods and search for some wild raspberry. There are many species of raspberries, some native to the Mediterranean and others native to North America. As we are the Acadian Garden, we will be focusing on Eastern North American varieties. Raspberries grow in wild woodland areas and are often found on forest margins or in areas where the forest canopy allows a dabbling of light to the forest floor throughout the day. Patches are common in areas of disturbance such as logging roads, trails, and on the edges of farmland. Raspberries are part of the family Rosa and the genus Rubus. So plants in the Rubus genus include dewberries, blackberries, and of course red and black raspberries. With so many close relatives to raspberry, it can be a challenge to spot the difference. So I will be sharing with you a few tips and tricks to spot wild raspberry, as well as distinguish it from other lookalikes. I should mention that everything in the woods today is covered in pine pollen. If you have allergies and encountered this, it's probably best to wait for a heavy rain before foraging. There are more than a dozen species of raspberry and many more cultivars, so we will be focusing on the basic features that are common amongst all raspberries. Raspberries have compound leaves with 3 to 7 serrated leaflets. Serration describes the jagged tooth-like edges that you can see on the leaves. The underside is silvery or white in appearance. You may also notice on the underside of the leaves that the veins are occasionally alternating. Watch me harvest the leaves by gently pinching the base of each leaflet and giving a firm tug without dragging my fingers along the stem. On wild raspberry, the stems are covered in thorns, but usually these thorns near the leaves are still soft and won't cause you any harm. If you are concerned though, you can always wear gloves when harvesting. Here we see compound raspberry leaves with 3 leaflets. On the very same plant, we see a new leaf forming with 5 leaflets. As you can see, the appearance of raspberry leaves can vary greatly in shape, size, and color dependent on the conditions that they are growing in. This is why it is important to observe not just the leaves but all parts of the plant in order to identify it correctly. The matured stem of a wild raspberry is dark reddish-brown in color. It is covered in thorns that, in general, point downward. As one could expect from these downward-pointed thorns, it would be quite painful to try to pull a raspberry up from the ground. Finally, we see here the beginnings of the fruiting bodies that, if pollinated, will become delicious raspberries. In our woodlands, raspberries are camouflaged among many other plants. Let's talk about these North American lookalikes and how to distinguish them from wild raspberry. Grape woodbine, also known as Virginia creeper, is a vining plant with compound leaves. You will often see this climbing up trees. Unlike raspberry, the leaves radiate from a single common point. Wild strawberry is a ground cover plant, meaning its maximum height is about to your ankle. The stems never have thorns and the leaves are never lobed. You'll also notice that on the strawberry leaf, the base is narrow and becomes wide, while on a raspberry leaf, the base is usually wide and becomes more narrow. Wild rose is raspberry's thorny cousin with compound elliptical leaves with 5 to 9 leaflets. In the springtime, before a wild rose's leaves have emerged, it's easy to mistake it for raspberry. However, unlike raspberry, whose thorns are tinted orange or brown, wild rose thorns are white in color. They also tend to stick out in any direction, while raspberry thorns generally point downward. And one honorable mention here is the poison ivy, which also has 3 leaves. One important thing to note is that, like woodbine, it is a vining plant, and an easy way to identify it, other than by its leaves, is by looking at the vine on the plant, which is generally fuzzy or hairy in appearance but lacks thorns. So now we are back indoors and are ready to start processing and dehydrating our raspberry. Before you begin this process, make sure to wash your leaves of any debris. Mine were obviously covered in pine pollen, so I thoroughly washed the raspberry leaves. Also be sure to check the undersides for any insects before placing on your dehydrating tray. I am removing some of the extra stems using the same process that I applied outdoors by pinching the base of the leaf, and the stem usually comes off pretty easily. So I am using an electric-powered Kasori dehydrator, but you can also use any other type of dehydrator that has a low enough setting for herbs. So you are looking for between 95 to 110 degrees for most herbs. And you can also do this outside in the sun if you prefer, or hanging the leaves in your window, leaving them on the stalk. There are lots of great ways to dehydrate plants. I am just showing you the method that I like the best for my household use. Now, if you are planning to make a tincture out of raspberry leaves, it's best to use fresh leaves rather than dried, as this will allow the alcohol to extract more of those beneficial compounds and nutrients. So I am setting my Kasori dehydrator to 105 degrees Fahrenheit and running it for 10 hours. You may find that you need more time to dehydrate depending on which method you are using. And of course, any stems or leaves that you have left over should go straight into your compost. It's been 10 hours and our raspberry leaves are dried and ready to be processed into delicious raspberry leaf tea. So let's talk about the wonderful qualities of raspberry leaf. So raspberry leaf is considered the woman's herb, and I had told you a little bit about how it is helpful for uterine health and for bone health. I wanted to get a little bit into the reasons why. So raspberry leaf tea has astringent properties, meaning that it helps to tighten and tone tissue. Due to this property, a tea can be used as a remedy for heavy menstruation, muscle cramps, and diarrhea. It can also be used as a mouthwash or rinse to treat ulcers in the mouth or problems with the gums. I like to put all of my herbs into a bowl and crush them up a bit more before I store them or use them in a tea. In order to maintain the freshness of the raspberry, I don't grind it into a fine powder until right up to the moment that I am ready to use it. So raspberry leaf tea is a great source of calcium that can be readily assimilated into the body. So calcium is used by the body to fortify the bones and teeth. Among other minerals, raspberry is high in iron and manganese. So drink raspberry leaf tea as an herbal supplement to help prevent osteoporosis. Raspberry leaf is an excellent addition to any herbal tea blends because of its wonderfully sweet flavor. I should also add that it does not have a grassy flavor like many herbs. So now we are ready to grind up our herbs and make a tea. Now it is a very humid day and I did leave my plants in the dehydrator after it had stopped running for a few hours, so this raspberry isn't crushing quite into a fine powder, but that is no issue at all. It will still make an excellent raspberry leaf tea. Now we are ready to add our tea to a tea bag or a tea ball strainer. So I think that raspberry has a slightly sweet, slightly citrusy taste to it. When you try your raspberry leaf tea, please let me know in the comments what you think it tastes like. And I broke my first bag. No worries though, I had plenty more bags and plenty more raspberry leaf tea. Thank you for coming on this little woodland adventure with me. I hope you learned something and that you have the opportunity to enjoy this wonderful herb. Thanks for watching.